Hey, hey, sorry, private joke. Just thought of something really funny. So, music fans, vinyl community fans, this guy, right? George Harrison. First, right off the top, I want to thank Jeff Kempen for playing a request. He played a request for me. He bought some 78s and has that console, which I think is pretty cool. And he played. I didn't realize where the song originally came from, but he played a Guy Lombardo B-side, "I'll See You in My Dreams," and I know that song because those of you who have seen the concert for George, if you have the soundtrack, you've probably seen at least the documentary, not the concert. That's what, the 2003 or four. I'm blanking out, and I was there. I'll tell you that in a second. At the very end, Joe Brown gets the ukulele. We all know George Harrison was a big ukulele fan, and he plays "I'll See You in My Dreams," that kind of old song. You can see it on YouTube. Not the performance. I think that's only the audio is on YouTube from the sound from the album. But it's just really beautiful. At the very end, I was in the ninth row at the Royal Albert Hall for that show. This guy, in tribute of this guy. And I was at the ninth row, and just, I was gonna say graffiti, but what's that stuff called that comes from the sky? Confetti, not graffiti. Confetti came down, and the music was playing, and everyone was on stage. Eric Clapton and Danny Harris and Olivia and Ravi Shankar and Tom Petty and well, you've seen the film. Uh, Jeff Lynne and Billy Preston and from Procol Harum, Jeff, or all the guys. Anyway, great show. Anyway, a few things. I'm gonna do. This is supposed to be a whack-a-mole, so it's whack-a-mole. And I took the doors off. Those of you who've seen whack-a-mole, I always talk about the doors. I took the doors off. I did the big shift to loosen room up because what I'm going to be doing is a move around of a record of books here from a Beatle collection, and these are most of my jazz records. So my jazz collection is going to go up here. This is kind of like nerdy stuff you want to talk about, but anyway, before I get into whack-a-mole, just in terms of concert for George, one of the best nights I've had in my entire life. And I got a ticket. I went on my own. And for some reason, I got into the Royal Albert Hall an hour before they opened the doors to everyone else. I was able to get a drink, walk through the almost virtually empty hall around the top. I had never been there before. This is my ticket. Is that in focus here? There we go. It's always this focusing on these things, right? When you got lights and backlit and everything. So I paid 150 pounds, which is probably then about $175, $180. Deal, right? I had mileage from my American Express for Virgin America or Virgin Atlantic. Flew there, stayed a week in London. So I was in row 9, seat 32. And this is the book that came with the box set, I believe. But they gave this out to everyone, this Concert for George. Beautiful little memento. So gorgeous, huh? God, what a tribute. What one of the most amazing things in my life. And I was really fortunate, and it's not even bragging, but the 3 concerts that were pretty amazing. I went to the Last Waltz, Concert for George. And I don't know if it's the greatest show, but I did go to see the Royal Albert Hall in 2005, the Cream reunion. Because I had never seen Cream the first time around. That's one band I missed early on. But anyway, that's this. This is a Concert for George limited edition that they put out. Was it last year, the year before, for the 25th anniversary? I forgot what year it is anyway, 25. It's got the record book, the Blu-ray. Anyway, piece of fabric from the show, from the backdrop at the show at the Royal Albert Hall. The light's kind of wonky in here. It seems like lights have changed. So, okay, whack-a-mole. I'm going to do one on my own. The last one was with guests. and I randomly pick 5 records, and I show them and talk about them. So I believe this is either 19 or 20 Mazzy's Whack-A-Mole. And thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and keep it coming. Actually, I'm just going to pull them all, and then I'll talk about them, be faster. Not looking, I promise. 3, 4, 5. Okay. Whack-A-Mole, Mazzy's Whack-A-Mole. John Prine, his last album, latest, came out in 2018, like came out last year. You know John Prine. It's interesting how these sort of elder statesmen of folk have become sort of the darlings of the indie alt-country, alt-folk circuit, but well-deserved. I haven't seen John Prine probably since the 70s. I think I saw him 2 or 3 times in the 70s. Great record. He's always interesting. He's worth checking out. This is a really fine record. The Tree of Forgiveness. One of the better records of last year. Okay. One of my favorite bands, XTC. We all know XTC, or most of you here. Very pop psych, more on the pop side, very Beatlesque. Andy Partridge and Colin, and this is an album produced by Todd Rundgren, and this is my promo copy. And the original, this is my original, right? The original did not have the song "Dear God," and later pressings of the CD. I'm not sure about the album. I think the later ones probably put it on, but in these days they weren't pressing a lot of vinyl. My promo copy I got from Geffen Records. You all know the stories about Andy Partridge. I have a great series called Werby Myrtles. Werby, what do they call it? Like 12, 15 volumes of CDs of demos and outtakes and alternate versions that Andy Partridge puts together in his home studio. But great record. Really psychedelic, but very popish. You know, in fact, it looks like I'm looking down here and I got some good choices today. Some of my very favorites. My second favorite band ever, second or third. My favorite bands are the Beatles, the Kinks, and the Byrds. Well, Miss Tambourine Man, the Byrds. I'm always on a Dylan phase. It's produced by Terry Melcher. If you didn't know, Terry Melcher, I believe, was Doris Day's son. Interesting little trivia fact there. Kind of really popularized Mr. Tambourine Man to the masses, the Dylan song. Anyway, great record. All I really want to do is on here, a couple of Dylan songs on here. So, yeah, Spanish Harlem Incident, Bells of Remnant, well, okay. Anyway, you all know it. If you're a Byrds fan, you need this. One of the greatest cowboy singers. In fact, one of the greatest cowboy country western, but more, I call it cowboy music rather than CW, country western. But Marty Robbins, we all know El Paso. I have that record with El Paso, but this is actually a good comp that I also have, and it's all-time greatest hits. Of course, on here is El Paso and Devil Woman, Big Iron, Streets of Laredo. So a great cowboy album. Columbia, you can probably get this fairly cheap. This is a copy that I got when I worked in record stores. This is a 70s pressing, that Columbia, but it sounds fantastic and it's like perfect. Doesn't smell like mildew like those used record shop things, because it's been in my collection since 1975-ish. And it came out in 1972. All right, and lastly on Whack-A-Mole, Ian Gaume. Remember when I did, this is on Albion Records, but he was one of the original, or one of the Stiff Records artists. So if you haven't seen it, I did a video about a month or two ago, 6 weeks ago. It's all a blur time-wise, called on Stiff Records. You know, the record that Elvis Costello and Nick Lowe were first on. And I didn't mention that, and close your ears if you're offended with my swearing, but one of the greatest lines for Stiff Records If it ain't stiff, we don't give a fuck. Is that right? Am I misquoting? If it ain't stiff, you don't give a fuck. Anyway, you get the gist of it. That was one of the lines they used a lot for stiff records back in the day. Ian Gom, kind of I want to say an indie pub guy. Was he with Brinsley Schwartz too? Probably. He played Herbie Flowers on bass, Barry DeSouza on drums. Produced by Martin Rushett. You probably know him, you English people. This is 1978, I believe. This came out, but it's on Albion Records, Ian Gum. You Brits would know it. But anyway, that's Mazzy. Again, I want to thank everyone for being really generous, sharing records, watching my posts. It's funny how you see what people react to more. And the new release thing I know you all were like, from that a lot of people are showing when they pick up records, so that's something. Whack-A-Mole seems to go up and down. I think you guys like it better when I have guests. And I always like guests. So if you ever come to Seattle, shoot me a line and you can be a guest. You can come to Maslow's world headquarters in Seattle, Washington, in the great Northwest. And you can be a guest in a very special episode of Whack-A-Mole. Anyway, thanks again, everyone. And I was going to do some anniversary things because this weekend was the 50th anniversary. In fact, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to indulge me here. 2 records turn 50. 2 big records turn 50. I'll be right there. Don't go anywhere. I think it was exactly both on Saturday, but on Saturday, these 2 records, excuse me, I'm sorry, they didn't both turn 50. One turned 50, one turned 40. 50 years old, Trout Mask replica, Captain Beefheart. I remember getting this record when it came out. This is not my original copy. I played it 3 or 4 times for a week, and I did not get it. This is one of those albums you either get, you don't get. But sometimes it takes decades to get it. I think I got it finally about in the late 70s. Someone was playing it in the record store, worked in one of the record stores, and I got it. Ain't for everyone, but happy birthday, 50 years old to Trout Mask replica and Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band. Originally on Bizarre Straight Records, Zappa's label. And happy 40th to a record. This is my original copy of Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division. This is my American copy. All their other records and 12 inches I got at the time are UK, but this is a US factory, Factus One. Factus One, you know what that means. It's their first label, or excuse me, their first release out of Manchester. And you know, if you don't, this was from a scientific thesis book on audio waves. And the designer who designed the original album took this version and reversed it to black on white, or white on black, I should say, and reversed it. The record was designed by Peter Seville. That's who it was, Peter Seville. It's become iconic. You see those t-shirts everywhere. So happy birthday, Joy Division. There's actually a new re-release, 40th anniversary, with a white cover on red vinyl. You know, it's one of those things I'm so tempted, but I don't need it. I got a pristine, perfect original copy. So I think I'd rather spend my money elsewhere to get another copy of that. But happy birthday, Joy Division. If you haven't seen it, you should rent or watch the movie Out of Control, or Control is called, Control. And it's the Joy Division story about Ian Curtis just before they're about to embark on their first U.S. tour, which obviously those of you who know about Joy Division know that never happened. Directed by Anton Corbijn, the photographer that worked a lot with Joy Division, or the band they became, the techno band. You got to write it down there, I'm blanking out. Also, he photographed a lot of the U2, most of the U2 covers. But Anton Corbijn, that was his first directorial debut. Control, about Joy Division. New Order, that's the band I'm thinking of. So he worked with New Order a lot. But anyway, Mazzy thanks you, and I've extended beyond my allotted time here. So before the satellite turns off and I get cut off, thank you. Happy Monday, happy week, and thanks for watching. Mazzy loves you.